prepper news is driving you crazy. If it seems that statement is attacking an individual rather than the unintended consequences of their approach to create engagement, you're already looking at it from the wrong perspective. In order to efficiently attack a problem, we have to engage our critical thinking and become more discerning of the information we allow to color the lens that we view the world from. Some channels are no doubt well researched, but please be aware that no matter how much you may like a personality, it becomes a piece of editorial media the moment they speak about anything else but the facts. Editorials are powerful and can lead people to make up their own minds, but everyone, at some point, will follow the path of least resistance. Unfortunately for most people, once they place trust in an individual, there is a human and cross-cultural tendency to accept that person's word as the truth. The path of least resistance is perfectly illustrated with the first problem of this level of trust and admiration. People forget that these personalities are only privy to the same news sources as the rest of you. You are a thinking adult with your own unique sets of problems. You don't need another grown adult reading you the news like a bedtime story, and just because you like them, it doesn't make the story any truer than if you read it for yourself. You may think that's obvious, but go ahead and peruse and analyze the comment section of many of these channels. There's also the problem that some channels become no better than a sensational tabloid. The worst is when one can get so deep in the weeds that instead of banter about the issues, where you'd at least feel like you were listening to a conversation between friends about current events, some of these people begin to claim to have an inside source, which should be an obvious and outright lie to any critically thinking adult. There are so many layers of security that go into protecting sensitive and compartmentalized information that to even think that it's possible that a single, powerful, high-ranking individual would disclose a bombshell to a random YouTube personality shows a lack of understanding. The airman who leaked information was found pretty quickly. If some high-ranking leaks were indeed happening, it would be immediate news and be memed to death. If anyone was remotely close to the truth about any particular bombshell, I guarantee they would be reached out to in order to investigate a possible leak. Business wouldn't continue as usual, and if it seems that things are being leaked and no repercussions are in order, you have to think, in the age of the internet, what would the digital equivalent of Operation Mincemeat be? Which kind of leads to the next issue, echo chambers. You've closed off the conversation because for one reason or another you start sticking with your favorite personality and those they deem safe. That's another way of saying they reaffirm your worldview. You begin to see other people who aren't the same as unenlightened, in the dark, or that favorite word, sheep. I will not argue that there's a current bias against conservatives, but there's another interesting echo chamber that formed for leftist progressives as well, where they believe that all incitement is actually the feds setting activists up. It's the same thing that people on the right side are saying. If you have an environment that only reinforces the way you want to perceive the world instead of seeking out the source material for yourself, I'll say it outright. Your hot take will always be based on incomplete information. Intelligence gathering is easier to do today utilizing the principles of OSINT in a world where everyone, including your grandmother, is quick to talk about what they had for breakfast and with who. You can find interesting information about a region fairly quickly. When your primary source of news comes solely from commentators, you begin to have their view, their analysis influence the way you see events and the world as well. It's nearly a year and a half into the invasion of Ukraine, and despite all the red and yellow alerts and warnings of thermonuclear winter, we are still here. There's a whole nuanced world out there, and with all the information that you're going to have to go through, I get it. You want the TLDR version because you're exhausted from the day, but you still want to keep up. It becomes a cycle that takes a toll on your mental health because of the constant worry and stress, which then affects your daily habits and priorities, which now leads to the next major issue. You lose focus on what's important and how you can create a lasting change. Despite many people thinking themselves tough, I guarantee many actually want the easy fix. People think a collapse is like ripping off a band-aid without realizing wishing for a total collapse to quote-unquote get it over with implies the death of many loved ones, the helpless, and even themselves. I hate the term, but it's true. Many people need to go outside and touch grass. I keep saying we didn't get here in one generation, and we won't get out of it in a single one either. Teach others and the young your core values and skills and engage in the local political scene. Join the parent-teacher organizations and campaign. Participate in grassroots efforts. Realize that saying, "but I can't do all that, I have a job," may be a valid statement, but it's also an excuse. Many people have put their employment and fortunes on the line for a cause, whether it was the founding fathers or the kid who stood his ground for a BLM shirt at a Taco Bell. There's a subscriber who said he'd volunteered to participate and teach a local Boy Scout troop. Another told me that they're going back into the education field and teaching science and biology. Another is involved in the PTA and is now part of the local council. Stop making yourself go crazy over things you can't control and start impacting what you can. Because even if the world were ending in nuclear fire tomorrow, how can you, as a single person, stop it? The more likely scenario is that the world keeps turning. And if you do nothing at all now to make any impact, you have no legacy. You had no say in the direction of the future. Everything was for nothing, for you. Go forth and do the best that you can. And until the next video, be good, stay safe, and have a good one.